Hi all, Adi here from St John's. As always, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Today I'm in deepest, darkest North Wales and I'm at a church called, I think it's called or pronounced St Tanwg. Apologies if I've said that incorrectly. Also known as the Church in the Sand. It's a very unique place in a very unique location, so let's go and have a look. Hidden away among the sand dunes on the coast of North Wales sits one of the country's most atmospheric little churches. St Tanwg Church, which is often called the Church in the Sand, has stood here against wind, sea and shifting dunes for centuries. It may look quiet and modest today, but this small building tells a story stretching back around 1500 years. The church stands just a few metres from the shoreline, just south of Harlech, and today it's surrounded by sand dunes, but when it was first established the landscape would have looked very different. But over the centuries the sea and the wind have gradually reshaped the coastline, leaving the church looking as though nature is slowly trying to reclaim it. Although the stone building we see today is mainly medieval, historians believe this has been a place of Christian worship since at least the 5th or even early 6th century, but some traditions even suggest the foundation might date from 453, making it one of the oldest Christian sites in Britain. And inside the church, up on the altar, we will find some inscribed stones dating from the 5th and 6th centuries, providing more strong evidence that people were worshipping here well before the present building was constructed. The church is dedicated to St Tanwg, who's a Welsh saint. He's believed to have lived during the 6th century. According to tradition, he travelled from Brittany in France with other Celtic missionaries and became associated with the religious community on Bardsey Island before settling in this area. And while it's impossible to know exactly how much of the story is legend and how much is historical fact, his name has been connected with this site for well over 1,000 years. The building standing today is thought to date mainly from the 13th century. Originally it was a simple stone church built from local rubble with thick walls designed to withstand this harsh coastal weather. But during the 15th century it was enlarged, a new chancel was added together with an east window and a rood screen that would have separated the nave from the altar. But over the following centuries the church continued to change, and during the 17th century several windows were rebuilt and altered. A choir loft was most probably removed and structural changes were made to keep the building stable. An inscribed stone on the west gable bears the initials R.E.P. and date from 1685, which is believed to mark some of these alterations. Sadly, not everything survived. In 1789 the walls were replastered and repainted, and in the process many beautiful medieval wall paintings have been lost forever. And at the time no one realised just how historically valuable those paintings would later become. And for hundreds of years this church has served the surrounding community, including the growing settlement of Harlech. But by the 19th century Harlech's population had expanded and a new church was built there between 1839 and 1841. The medieval font, bell and much of the church's furniture were moved to the new church, more or less leaving this old building largely abandoned. Without regular use, the sea air and blowing sand quickly took their toll. Roof tiles disappeared, part of the roof had collapsed and sand drifted into the building until parts of the floor were completely buried, and local fishermen apparently even used the church to dry the fishing nets, hanging them over the altar rail. It's a striking image, isn't it? An ancient place of worship becoming a practical shelter for the local community. But fortunately, people recognised its importance before it was too late, and in 1884 the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings raised enough funds to restore the church, and the work saved it from complete ruin. Further repairs were carried out again in 1987, and a major restoration project, which cost around £20,000, helped secure the church for future generations. And although it remains an active place of worship, services are only held here very occasionally. Now, architecturally, the church is remarkable. It measures 57 feet by 23 feet wide. There is no towering spire or elaborate decorations. Instead, the church just blends naturally into the surrounding dunes. It almost disappears into the landscape. But one of its most fascinating features lies inside, as the church, as you have already seen, contains several ancient inscribed stones dating back to the 5th and 6th centuries, and one of them even has a Latin inscription on it, and these stones probably marked an early Christian burial site and offer a rare glimpse into the earliest years of Christianity in Wales. And I believe I read that this large stone here actually came from a nearby burial chamber and may be 4,000 years old, but I may be incorrect with that, so please do double check. Don't take it as 100% factually correct. Another remarkable feature is the churchyard itself, because much of the original churchyard has gradually become buried beneath the drifting sand, that means that many of the old graves out there now lie hidden below the surface, and the ever-changing dunes constantly reshape the landscape around the church, making it feel almost timeless. And amongst those buried here is the famous poet Sean Phillip, who drowned in 1620 while crossing the nearby waters, and his grave connects the church not only with religious history but also with Welsh literature and culture. And because of its exceptional historical and architectural importance, St Tanwg Church has become designated as a Grade 1 listed building, and this is the highest level of protection given to historic buildings in England and Wales, and it's reserved for structures of exceptional national interest. Today, the church belongs to the Church in Wales, and it remains one of the country's most photographed and much loved historic churches. Visitors often describe the experience of reaching it as something special. Walking through the dunes with the sound of waves in the background, it's really easy to understand why generations have found peace here. St Tanwg's impresses through its simplicity. Its weathered stone walls, tiny windows, and isolated setting create an atmosphere that feels almost unchanged across the centuries. And perhaps that's what makes this church so memorable. It isn't simply an old building, it's a survivor. It has witnessed changing kingdoms, medieval pilgrims, storms, the ever-shifting coastline, Victorian restoration and modern visitors, and all the while remaining quietly rooted in the same patch of Welsh coastline. If the earliest traditions are correct, people have gathered here for worship for around 15 centuries. Now, there's very few places in Britain that can claim such a long and continuous connection with Christian history. But standing amongst these dunes today, looking across to the Irish Sea, this church reminds us that history isn't always found in grand castles or cathedrals. Sometimes it's preserved in the smallest places. In this modest stone church, weathered by the salt, sand, and where every wall, every stone, and every gust of that sea wind carries the echoes of the generations who came before us. What made St Tanwg Church such a remarkable place for me, that was, despite it being so small in size, it is absolutely enormous in history. Thank you so much for watching the video. Wasn't that an amazing little place? It really, really was. You can see why they have to dig it out of the sand sometimes, can't you? Now, if you did enjoy today's video, if you could please like, subscribe, hit the hype button, hit the notification bell so you know the next time I post a video. I really would appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. And I really, really appreciate it because it really helps the channel out. So that's all for now, and I shall see you for the next one. Bye for now.